This video is brought to you in part by the patrons of the Lazy Eyebrow, and from the comments and watch time from viewers like you. Thank you!
You're the worst, blue guy. No, I'm not. I'm the strongest Decepticon there is. Fear me, for I am... Caca! Oh, you have slain me before I've had a chance to speaketh my true name.
No way! Can two play?
Sir, who are you?
Billy, but my friends call me Pew Pew. Who is this guy?
Oh, that's...
Billy!
Rebel.
How many times have I told you don't hang out with Decepticons? You remember what happened to Red?
Rebel, we take from the Autobots, not share our toys with them. This is all your fault.
Me? I went to get some Energon. He was playing just fine by himself and nobody's around for miles when I left him here an hour ago. Billy, you want to get murdered? Because that's all these no-good Decepticons do. Nothing but a bunch of murderers.
Excuse me, did you say we're the problem? Because I distinctly recall your leader completely destroying Lord Megatron, and he hasn't been the same since.
What? He only did that in response to your leader taking out Ironhide.
That was self-defense. Ironhide shouldn't grab his leg like that. You weren't there, you wouldn't know. Ribble, I don't want you hanging around this boy. He's bad news.
Yeah? Well, don't talk to me or my son ever again.
Why hello YouTube, greetings from the Lazy Eyebrow to a review of a Legend Scaled figure. Unlike the last Legend Scaled review where it was a Legend Scaled figure for a unit class Ration Scaled crew, this is a Legend Scaled figure for a Legend Scaled crew. This is the review for Magic Square B27 Voice Ripple, on loan to me from Zach Dane. Thanks, Zach! Now normally I don't cover the box, but this box is kind of interesting. It's all 80s nostalgia overload and such. It's kind of neat. And the inclusion of that kid from that Season 2 episode of G1 is a really cool little add-on. Like, I don't know why they picked this character as their logo. Probably because the scale they were working with is almost the same as that episode. I don't know. Regardless, I think it's kind of neat. Anyway, let's open this up and find 2 trays in here? No, this wasn't a mistake. This is just me highlighting that we're also reviewing Magic Square B28 Tapes Team. A second package you get to buy from Magic Square if you want the quote-unquote full team. Personally, I think it's a little annoying that they make you buy 2 packages for this, because it's clearly intended that this was supposed to be the full package. I mean, you take both bags of accessories, you put the sleeve of tapes on top, main tray on that, and your whole package fits in one box, ready for transport instead of making your fan base wait for 2 releases and a higher shipping charge to get the full team. Anyway, enough about the business practices of an unlicensed third-party company. Let's talk about what you get in the box. You get a Soundwave. You get an Auto Scout, and you get a Rumble. And you get 2 pile drivers for that Rumble. You also get 2 extra pairs of hands, an empty Energon cube, a decal sheet, and a trading card. Because everybody collects those, right? So Soundwave is actually a really, really cool looking figure. He has this toon aesthetic that everyone seems to love these days. So that soft, naturally curving lines where everything's tapered. It has this really bright blue aesthetic with yellow just popping. These colors aren't supposed to be realistic by any stretch, but they're very apparent that what they're going for is a toon feel to the figure, and I feel that really works in this toy's favor. I mean, one exists in the metallic dark blue, and it looks oh so amazing. In fact, about the only thing that's actually metallic on this whole figure is the mouth plate, and honestly, I think that does it for this figure. I mean, just everywhere has these soft lines and humanoid-esque proportions. I think this is no better seen than on the legs. Like, they start all thin where the knees start and then slowly taper outwards to get to the bottom. I mean, compared to this masterpiece Soundwave, or even Siege for that matter, and you have these blocky robot legs. For the record, I prefer the blocky look in terms of robot appendages, but I mean the fact that Legend Scaled Soundwave here can pull off leg aesthetics akin to Masterpiece Megatron, that's awesome! Again, I know I've said this a lot, but it's just this soft, natural look to the figure. I'm not going to deny it looks good, even though it's not my preferred look. It just looks so good on this figure. As for accessories, you get the cube and 3 pairs of hands as well as blastery battery things. The hands work by popping off whatever hand you have on via a peg system and replacing them with whatever hand you fancy. So you get hands like these conversational hands, explaining to Megatron that they have no idea what happened to Starscream. For all we know, he's off backstabbing somebody else. There's also these angled pointing fingers, and anyone that knows Soundwave knows exactly what these are for. And yes, the articulation's so good that you get to press the button. Thankfully, the cassette door isn't spring-loaded, which makes my job of animating it significantly easier. However, you also get 2 of them, one for each hand, which makes pressing buttons on his waist way easier.
I'm telling you, I finally have some dirt on Soundwave. With this knowledge, Megatron is finally going to make me his most trusted Decepticon. So I was... Skyward, what are you doing?
All Decepticons report to the bridge.
All right, I guess we'll reconvene in an hour to talk. So that's my news. Pretty great, eh?
Oh.
I finally have some dirt on Soundwave.
The button-pressing finger is also great for those times you need to run a brain scan on a wheelchair-bound genius that we'll never hear from again after Season 2. And finally, you get a pointing finger for all the ejecting and pointing you can muster.
I'm Soundwave. Who the heck are you? I just told you. Listen, I'm from the future. How dare you point at me? You were pointing first. It's rude to point. You're pointing right now. Look, not right now. Look at your pointing at your You're doing it right now.
Next, we come to a staple in all Soundwave figures, those being the batteries. Which would look like batteries if the positive terminal didn't look so on point. Oh well, these work how you'd expect. Extend this to make the concussion blast area and it just slots into the conversational hands. The rocket launcher has a hinge for up and down motion and pegs into the shoulder via a rectangular plug. So hey, he gets to aim where he looks. That's neat. Basically, these are the accessories that Soundwave seem to all have. It's what makes Soundwave Soundwave. And you can see them here, on the Siege figure, despite them not even being batteries this time, and of course the Masterpiece. Unfortunately, they're not seen on this Soundwave, which is probably why there's not so much love for this show. It's because Soundwave didn't have a shoulder cannon. So the Energon Cube. The Masterpiece had this accessory, and this one works in much the same way, or at least it would if the tolerances weren't so dang tight for some reason. Like, it fits and stays in place, but the gap is really tight, and for a good few seconds I was ready to believe it wasn't going to go in. But it's definitely not something I'm trying again. But hey, it works, and guess what?
I get to make rectangles.
But that's not the only thing he comes out of his chest. Here's a word from today's sponsor.
The Transformers will return after these messages.
Oh, darn it.
What's wrong, Prime?
I'm trying to buy more of our other bots from online retailers, but it's just too dang expensive.
Have you tried allmatrixdfm.com?
No, as a matter of fact, I haven't. What is it?
It's an online marketplace devoted to the sale of all things Transformers based out of the United States. Prices are cheaper there as the selling fees are lower than prices like eBay, but because they still use PayPal, you get the same buyer protection as you would on eBay, with free shipping on all orders within the US.
That sounds pretty good. But what if I have something just taking up space around here and I want to sell it?
Well, you can do that too. Account creation is free, and any sale or order you make enters you in a giveaway on the site.
That sounds awesome.
allmatrixdfm.com. Go start selling today for free.
We now return to the Transformers.
Okay, so for real, he gets to store and fire out tapes. Now, the 2 tapes he comes with are Auto Scout and Rumble. But thanks to the second pack of tapes they make you buy, we get the full team. And this full team consists of Ratbat, Ravage, Buzzsaw, and Frenzy. Or basically everyone he shot out during that scene in the movie about cracking the shell and then cracking the nuts inside. Oh, and also Auto Scout and Buzzsaw are there too. This pack also comes with more accessories for Soundwave. First off is the scanner from Fire on the Mountain, which appeared as a desaturated blue on screen. So why it's purple here, and more importantly why it's silver on the Masterpiece, is anyone's guess. Regardless, he can wield it around and scale all sorts of lost Incan legends for Megatron to blow up ancient history and stuff. Second, you get 4 neodymium magnets that are 3mm wide. These can slot in a few places. First off, the most obvious place, at least to me, seems to be they can go in the feet. Doing so, coupled with finding a steel surface, allows for all sorts of extra stability for posing. Like look at this throwing pose I got the figure to do. And that's all because of the magnetic feet. Not to mention, if you consider hanging upside down extra stability, he can absolutely do that too. How about walking a thin bridge? Other places I found include these holds in the side of the leg, but I can't for the life of me find any reason for you to do that. And they can also go in the conversational hands, making it way easier to perch the flying tapes here. Basically, these accessories seem to me to really nail home the point that this was supposed to be a bundled set. I have no clue why else they'd lock accessories for the main figure like this behind a secondary pack other than, people are probably going to buy it anyway, so just throw it together. Alright, now onto the tapes, and these things are tiny. Like, really tiny. Here's a Masterpiece cassette for scale, which also highlights the fact that these things are so tiny, the bulk of them don't even look like tapes. More like rectangular boxes of parts that obviously unfold. But, alright, let's get to that unfolding. Auto Scout opens the top, unleashes the claw, and extends the wheels. Buzzsaw functions much like his Masterpiece counterpart in that you unfold the wings, pull out the head, pull down the feet, move around the rocket boosters, and rotate out the wings. Ravage works by opening them up like a briefcase and more or less pushing the legs where you want. Ratbat is a case of wings, head, wings deployed, boosters arranged, fold around the chest, and I forgot to film it, but also pulling down the feet. Frumble starts by removing the back cannons, pulling the arms down, straightening out the legs, rotating the shins forward, rotating the feet 180, flipping around the waist. Then you take the back cannon and extend the barrel, and good grief, is this ever fiddly? Like, so fiddly that one of the cannons was lost? They just fall right out. And these things are so tiny you'll probably never find it again if it does separate. Like, here's the original Masterpiece cannon for scale. Here's an Earthrise Seeker for scale. Here's a stinking roller for scale. Like, I cannot get over how small this is. Anyway, they just plug into the back like you'd expect, or into the hands so you can use them like tiny little baby guns. Other accessories, much like the Masterpiece had, includes these pile drivers. And also, just like the Masterpiece, you get to use them in the same way by pointing the arms down and slotting them into the pile drivers for all kinds of earth-shattering fun. But all that said and done, I just can't get over the size. These are small. Here's the Masterpieces again for size, and they're about 3 times the size, and I thought they were fiddly to work with. Which also goes to show how small Voice Ripple is. Look at that. As for the other tapes, like I mentioned previously about the magnets, Buzzsaw and Ratbat get to perch themselves ever so nicely. Or if you're using both magnets, one gets to perch and the other one gets to dangle freely. Ravage, on the other hand, looks not great. And I also get this as a product of the scale. I mean, look at the Masterpiece, and then look at the Legend Scaled one. The limbs are practically the same thickness, really contributing to the weird look. But given the alternative was to make the arms as thin as the flimsy barrel of the Earth Movers, yeah, I think they did the best they could. But this also lends to a really ugly tape mode. But, again, what are you going to do? Auto Scout! Auto Scout is the reference to a 30-second clip from the Prime Problem episode when Soundwave deployed Auto Scout to see whether or not they were going to die if they ventured into the one-off crystal field. Turns out the rubber wheels left him just fine. This is the pinnacle of tapes for Soundwave, and is single-handedly the character that kept Transformers alive in 1985. I am super glad this was included. And not Laserbeak, because good grief, what a weird addition that would be. Alright, it's alright. Magic Squares knows that some of us want Laserbeak over Auto Scout. So thankfully, if you get the dark metallic blue version of this figure, you're in luck, because they took out Auto Scout so we can have a Laserbeak. I mean, they also took out Rumble, but he's a one-off character who no one cares about, right? Heavy sarcasm aside, I don't understand this decision. You buy the cartoon version? Here's Auto Scout and Rumble. Buy the dark version? Okay, we'll give you Laserbeak, but no Rumble. Like, is there any way to get the actual full team of Season 1 and 2 Decepticon tapes without having to resort to buying 3 whole different packages and having multiple Soundwaves? This is just one decision I can't support. Like, the tapes themselves are great. For the size they needed to be, it's a wonder they even exist. But me personally, they are way too small, and animating them was really tedious, and it's not exactly something I want to go through with again. That being said, on to transformation for Soundwave. Start by spinning the head around and rotating it all the way back. Spread the legs to a full split to give clearance for the crotch plate to rotate up. Spin around, and fold back down. Then rotate the legs forward. Move this hinge section out of the way and fold the button plate down and spin it around to the front. Rotate the head into the chest and close up the hinge section and pull up on this plate. Rotate the hands in like this and fold the plates up on top. In standard Soundwave fashion, move the shoulders to the back, open the back door to the leg, unfold the section of plates and flatten it all out, extend and then bend the leg on this whole assembly of accordion hinges, fold the feet into a 90-degree edge, pull up this plate, insert the battery guns, and compress everything together, then move the bottom plate into position, and man oh man, this is incredible. Granted, there is one fake part out of this whole mess, and it's the button panel. But that aside, the fact that they were able to take something so curvy and have it morph, or transform if you will, into something this blocky with almost no fake parts, like that is some next level engineering right there. Like, just look at it. This is something I love about the Legend scaled figures, is that because of the scale, the designers are met with limitations on how small the parts can be. They don't have the luxury of turning the entire alt mode into a series of panels that all come apart, fold like a sheet on laundry day, and tuck themselves into the legs. No, limitations breed creativity. They were forced to make the best they could out of what they saw in alt mode, and did they ever deliver here? And not only on the figure, but also the tape deck itself. Like, okay, maybe the sides aren't as clean as they could be, but the back looks great. Sure, it's not masterpiece standards, but I give it a pass for the things it did do for its size. And of course, the tape door opens up, and you can listen to Rat Bat's grunge album, or Rumble Blues, the top 40 that ravaged the charts last year, or even Buzzsaw's greatest cuts. Pretty much all of them can fit in there, whether or not they look like tapes. Which, yeah, I get with the size, this isn't exactly easy. But again, these look more like boxes than they do tapes, especially when compared to their masterpiece counterparts. In fact, the only one that even looks like a proper tape is Rat Bat. Anyway, back to robot mode, and we can talk about articulation. Head is on a ball joint with a huge cut out of the back for a wide range of upwards movement. Shoulders rotate and move out with another hinge for transformation. Elbows move 170 degrees, and as stated before, the hands are removable and rotatable. Ab crunches backwards and forwards, and it even rotates as well. Thighs do full split, rotate, 150 degree knee bend, and toes pivot and move up and down. Like, you see this, Hasbro? This is how you do a Soundwave figure. Why does Transformers Red look worse than this? Does it actually transform and have less range of movement when it's very apparent they were aiming for this toon aesthetic that Magic Squares pulled off? I don't understand the point of the red line. Tangent aside, size comparison. The LEGO tape deck I built from a few plates and 2 blocks. A LEGO minifigure. Deluxe Cliff Jumper. Voyager Soundwave. And Masterpiece Soundwave. Basically, nothing scales well with it, except for figures that were designed to, G1 Astrotrain, and of course the cassettes he came with. Because the Mech Fans Toys offering certainly doesn't, which is why I didn't get Magic Square's Huffer, as that is what it's built for, Legend scale. Anyway, that's my review of Voice Ripple. It is a fantastic figure if you're collecting Legend scale. And even if you're not, it's a much better choice for a fantastic looking Soundwave that doesn't scale with anything anyway if this isn't your collecting scale. I mean, for double the price of Red Soundwave, you can net yourself a Soundwave that A, actually transforms, B, looks aesthetically, in my opinion, better, C, has a better range of movement, D, comes with a cassette that can actually transform, and E, you're guaranteed to have it scale with something if Legends class figures are what you're going for. As for negatives, I'm sure many of you have noted by now how the animation wasn't super clean this time around, and that's mainly from loose or at least semi-loose joints. I mean, it was nothing so loose that it wouldn't hold poses, but it was loose enough that animating it was a bit of a chore. That aside though, I unexpectedly had lots of fun with this figure, and it makes me wish an upscaled Voyager version existed, as I would happily pick this up for my collection in general. This has been the Lazy Eyebrow.